Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson presents a conversation with Jane Doe. Jane Doe is intimately involved in conspiracy theories. In this episode, Daniel has an intense conversation with Jane about various conspiracy theories. Her name and image have been changed to protect her privacy. Enjoy the show.
Hi Daniel, how you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm doing.
Yeah, we're just gonna we're just gonna talk about the current event type of stuff, not any history type of stuff, just current event type of stuff, and your take on it. That's all.
Okay.
Let me turn up my volume here so I can hear you a little bit better. Yeah, we'll just talk about that. We'll just go with that, okay?
Okay.
Because that's what people want to know. People want to understand, because especially with what's going on. Me myself, I don't watch the news. I get my news from online, but Terry tells me stuff. But I myself don't really watch the news because it's all crap anyway. So I don't bother with it. But haven't watched the news on TV in over 3 years because it's just garbage.
Well, I'm right there with you. I stopped watching any mainstream media close to 10 years ago. So
Yeah,
my sources are also primarily online, but obviously alternate resources. And like I believe I mentioned this to you before, I try to pay attention to what's going on. The only mainstream station, I suppose, that I occasionally pay attention to is Fox. But even then,
sure.
I've started disregarding, because besides Tucker Carlson, nobody either speaks the truth or has the balls to even ask the right questions.
Right.
So,
So why do you think? Why do you think that they don't have the balls to say anything, or what do you think
well,
is the reasoning behind that?
well, honestly, I think given the fact that Fox is basically owned by the same people that own the other mainstream outlets,
Sure.
Fox, I think, has become very, very possibly always has been controlled opposition. So the same people control both sides of the narrative, and those people who don't understand that, they will have a very difficult time seeing through and navigating through all the web of lies, because that's pretty much all it is.
Yeah, because this is their way of putting a smoke screen out there to let you know. They want you to think that Fox is on our side, but they're not really. So the best way to keep the real news from getting out there is by owning both sides and letting the public think that, oh, one side is on your side, but the other side is not. But they actually
Yeah.
have control of both sides.
Yep, unfortunately that's the case. And then this is pretty much the expression controlled opposition that transcends just the media. It's not just there.
Right.
Like, for example, the same families, the same Rothschild, Rockefeller families were financing both sides, as well as the Vatican were financing both sides of both world wars. And they are financing, most people don't realize we are living World War III. And yet again, the same actors keep on popping up, and yet again, the same actors are financing again both sides. So it makes for an interesting situation, because a lot of people just basically just throw their arms up in the air and they say, I don't know, I can't tell anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, and do you think? I mean, we're not really at war with anybody right now, and although we are in a
We are.
not a non-physical sense. We don't have boots on the ground over there, or we ourselves are not bombing. We're going through the uses of NATO right now to try to help things out. But do you think by just listening to or reading your sources, do you think that we are headed for something even more astronomical?
I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell. Now, I do know that the current administration, I mean, I refuse to call him President Biden. He's Resident Biden. And I think he is a puppet. And his puppet masters, and he's the mouthpiece. And even at that, he fails on a daily basis. But I think that their agenda is to spark out an outright World War III. I'm just hoping that there will be still people smart enough to see through it and not fall for it. But that is their intent. That's what they are trying to provoke, a full-blown World War III situation. But I don't know. My gut is telling me that it's going to escalate. They're not done, but I don't think it's going to actually get to the point of a nuclear or any kind of other conflict per se, because I think that at that point, all the militaries will have to step in and say, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah,
And
I would hope so. But I would hope so, but I also think that there's too many parties here involved, and I think we're getting so caught up with the Ukraine situation, with the situation with Putin, that we are now forgetting about what's going on with us, between us and China as well, and we're not hearing
exactly.
so much.
And that's one of the biggest issues. The COVID narrative was falling apart. China was, as a daily topic, they were beating on that horse. So they needed a different kind of distraction. So hands enter Ukraine. So I do believe that this is also, like I said, it is actually a distraction, because right now, while everybody is paying attention to what goes on between Russia and Ukraine, between Zelensky, the wannabe or has-been actor, and Putin, while that's happening, nobody's paying attention to what's going on here domestically, which is right now, there are a whole bunch of things happening here domestically as well. Like, for example, I can't remember on the top of my head how many states have passed COVID passport legislation.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about it, because everybody that, the mainstream narrative is right now, what goes on overseas. And that's the only topic they are willing to discuss. So that's how I always know when there's only one topic, not just a primary one, only one topic that the mainstream media spews, and that means something major. Otherwise, under the carpet is getting done here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, because although luckily for me, right here in Arizona, the governor here of this state doesn't put up with that stuff. He's not doing the whole passport thing. They're actually relaxing everything, but still everything else is.
Well, yeah, but that's my worry, is that's only just a distraction as well, because how do you, basically, just think about a snake. How does a snake kills? It basically, it grabs the animal if it doesn't fit into the mouth. To be able to bite it and poison it, it grabs the animal and starts squeezing it. But periodically it lets up, so that the poor animal thinks, okay, I may actually have a chance of escaping this. And then
they want us to think at some point we do have our freedoms back, but then they're going to turn right back around and do it right back over, and then they're going to do it twice as much.
Exactly.
They're going to squeeze harder, and then they'll let loose a little bit, but then they'll squeeze harder after that. And that's how they trick everybody into thinking, oh, well, you're getting some of your rights back. Well, we're only getting a little bit back, but yeah, it's only temporary.
Well, it's only temporarily and a little bit and a little bit. So uh, I'm still hoping that you know, things will turn around. Um, and I think we are inching towards it, but it's just overall, when I take a step back and just look at the overall picture, the enormity of the task at hand
Yes,
in order to stop these people, the deep state actors, it's such a horrendously large task that
right.
yeah, it definitely cannot happen overnight. As much as we all want it, it cannot happen overnight. So I mean, this plan has been in the works now for, my
Yeah,
goodness,
years. Yeah,
maybe
they've yeah,
maybe 60
we watched
years, if not
different
longer.
different things online about there's that one guy, Charles Schwab, who's and this guy is in charge of so much. And we watched this one guy who was talking about the control that he has, and he was doing a little seminar, and sitting in his audience right up front row was Leonardo DiCaprio, and right next to him was Joe Biden. And he's talking about this plan that they have to basically dominate the world. Yeah, to dominate the country. And
You're talking about Klaus Schwab.
yeah, Klaus Schwab. Yes,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
you're talking about not Charles Schwab, but Klaus Schwab.
Yeah,
He's the founder of the World Economic Forum. And um, if you ever go to their website, it's a very worthy read. Let me see, what is their actual, you have to sign up for an account, but that they actually deliver to your email various
right.
news and emails telling you what is particularly trending. But as long as you have an account, you can go and start poking around on the World Economic Forum's website, and it's absolutely amazing. If you The more you click, the deeper you get
Yes.
into it, the more complex the algorithm is going to get. But
Oh,
in
yeah.
there, on their website, they actually laid out the entire COVID pandemic and how the whole thing was developed,
Produced. Yeah.
what kind of results it's going to bring about, and how it will be dealt with on every single level and in every aspect of one's life. Now, I do have some IT background. I used to work in IT. So just from an IT perspective, to develop that algorithm that's able to give you that visual image that you see on their website, and to give you the links and the ability to drill down level by level, further and further into any particular topic you're interested in learning about, that takes decades to develop. So unfortunately, it only came to the surface because,
Right.
it's well-known secret, the best place to hide something is in plain sight. And it's been out there because they also needed a way to communicate, but it just was not advertised. And that was the way their entire plan was in plain sight, but nobody knew about it. I personally discovered their website about maybe 2.5 years ago. And anytime I tried to share that information on any social media platform, I was immediately censored and my posts were taken down.
Yeah. You get shut down real quick. And it's funny, as my wife and I were watching this update about this Schwab guy. Yeah, he had the plan they have to basically dominate the world and dominate. Elites are going to do everything, and everyone else is going to do what they tell them to do. It sounds so much like what Hitler was trying to do.
Well, it didn't sound like it. That is exactly what is happening. That the same plan is. First of all, we never had the Nuremberg trials after World War II was a joke, because in reality, all those Nazi war criminals they disappeared into, generally speaking, 3 areas. They were either imported here.
Some of
They
them
were
came to work over here for NASA.
not just NASA. They were under Operation Paperclip. They were imported
Yes.
here into the United States, and have basically obtained very, very high positions within government and military, and with the express purpose that they had to continue the research and the work that they were doing way back under the Nazi regime. Others have disappeared. Like, for example, actually, I shouldn't say everybody. A lot of people think that Hitler actually died and committed suicide.
I don't
That's
think
not
so.
true. That's
Yeah.
not true. He managed to escape, but because his role per se was over, he was taken to Argentina, where he lived
Yeah.
out the rest of his life and died a few years ago in South America. Now, the rest of the bastards, excuse my technical term, of those
Good one.
Nazi officials that should have gotten executed for war crimes and crimes against humanity, they ended up, of all places, in the Ukraine. And I do believe that right now, the situation that's going on in the Ukraine, first of all, the Ukraine as a country itself technically doesn't exist. Doesn't exist because when they supposedly declared their independence from Russia back in the 80s and 90s, they never filed the proper paperwork to formally establish their borders. Therefore, as a country as such, Ukraine does not exist. Putin is not taking anything back. Ukraine never left. They are as Russian today as they ever were. And the other thing is that if you lay out the map of Ukraine, you will find that all the areas that have been attacked in one form or another perfectly line up with actually existing US-run military bases, in which facilities there is bioweapon testing and development, and those are the ones that have been bombed after the hazardous material, the bioweapons, the pathogens, and all the others have been secured. That's why those areas were hit.
Right.
So it's basically Putin is first of all, for them, it's an internal matter, and everybody needs to butt out because, like I said, Ukraine never left. So it's an internal matter entirely to Russia. And one and two, that he's basically cleaning up the trash, because as they have found, and I actually do have the video conference that I don't remember the name of the person who was holding it. 2 people were narrating basically, or holding this video teleconference, and they have basically laid out all the documentation and all the proof that they've obtained that not only do these facilities exist, and by the way, our State Department Representative Victoria Nuland also acknowledged that, within 5 days to it being a conspiracy theory to being a fact and confirmed by her, and then back to, well, who cares about that?
Right.
Took only 6 days. And the Russians also have had proof, or found proof, that among the pathogens that they were working with, and among the experiments that they were holding, they were working yet again with coronaviruses as well. But one of the kicker to it is that this time, these viruses and pathogens and bacteria that they are trying to, that they were actually planning on releasing on the Russian population, was specifically modified to affect only a certain ethnic group.
Right.
And those are the Russian people, Slavic people. So basically there was plenty of proof. So what Putin is doing is literally burning the trash.
Sure. Yeah. And like you say, it's an internal thing. They're trying to get this internally done. But as we all know, as Americans, or I don't know, I kind of think some people have forgotten the fact that even before Biden took office, there was all that news going around about how he forced some people out of the Ukraine in some high
Oh yeah,
positions.
he was caught on video. He was caught on video boasting.
Yeah,
He was
his son has a job over there in the Ukraine, and his
well,
son is his
not just his
contact,
son, not just his son, not just his
but
son.
others as
Nancy
well.
Pelosi's, almost the entire upper cabinet, all their children are on one company or another company is the board of directors in the Ukraine.
Right.
So almost all of them have some relatives, usually their children, being represented in Ukraine, and being part of these various either governmental agencies or companies that do work with, like I said, primarily in the energy sector and
Yeah.
or pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, and it's strange how they want us to kind of almost forget that happened, but now that it's coming into fruition here that all this mess is going on with Putin in Ukraine, now he wants us to worry about it. Like,
Well,
but he wants us to forget that all his kid and all these other people are in there. But all of a sudden he's like, oh, we're worried about Putin now. He might make a nuclear strike and stuff like that. They've had this
wow.
information for quite a long time, and they knew about it. But this is their way of keeping fear in the hearts of Americans over here.
Well, you have to remember that this entire the past 2 years has been, I would say, a tremendously successful psychological operation, a military operation
Yes.
to control people.
Yes.
The single most effective way of controlling a population or of any size, not just one person and or an entire country, the entire world, is through fear. And that's what has been happening anytime. And that's one of the reasons why I don't even bother to turn on the TV or the radio
Right.
to watch any current news, is because nothing else but fear porn is coming through.
Yes.
And because it is always easier to control an uneducated and sick population, that especially one that's full of fear, than it is a healthy, free, and independently thinking one. And
Yeah.
because anyone who is independent thinker is going to educate him or herself and will find ways to dig up something that actually resembles the truth. So
Yeah.
it's that's the whole point of them doing this and pushing the agenda. But now that COVID is falling apart on them, that they needed something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, I see over here locally, especially in the area I live in, Arizona, it's that fear that's behind everything, but there's still that hate as well being passed around as well. I see people here arguing the fact that if you are Democratic or Democratic and Republicans, oh, if you're Democratic, you can only Christians are allowed to be Democrats all of a sudden. Now they're mixing the religion in with whatever party they're in, and they're saying if you're a Christian, you can only be a Democrat, and if you're not a Christian, then you are a Republican. And the Republicans are hating on the Christians now for being Christian and being a Democrat, and it's so ridiculous over here watching it. But it's like, I asked them there, I said, how did all of a sudden did you mix your religion in with your politics now? And why does that make a difference? And they don't have an answer for that. They just continue to, oh, I hate you because you and your Christian ways and your Democratic Christian ways. And I'm like, where all of a sudden did because it used to be you kept your religion separate from politics, but now they're mixing it in. Where do you think that started coming in?
I stopped trying to figure that out because I tend to look at the as opposed to just the local happenings. I have a tendency to look at the overview, the big picture, 10,000 feet overview.
Right.
Anything at this point, anything and everything that they, in order to help them, they will try anything and everything, anything that will either keep the, keeps on fanning the flames of fear
Yeah,
and or hate,
yeah,
because both are very dividing, because
yes,
people who just look at each other and see people, no color, religion, ethnicity, just people,
right.
those people will pull together.
Yeah,
The only way that they can succeed in anything that they do is if they think of more and more ways of dividing folks.
yes,
And that's why I don't even engage in those kind of, I've lost so many friends,
yeah,
just because we had different views, and instead of agreeing to disagree or actually downright listening to what I had to say, they
right.
just turned their back. So I said, okay, fine. But later on, when the what hits the fan, I don't want to hear about it, because I've been telling you from day one.
Yeah, and I agree, and it will hit the fan. There is, especially right now, with the prices of everything going up. They screamed a couple of years ago that they wanted minimum the wage to go up, and minimum wage did go up, but it went up so much that every time I walk into a store now, everything is automated now. Your cashiers are automated. They have less and less cashiers standing there waiting to take your orders, and everything else is automated. So they trying to get that minimum wage up. They've cut themselves out of jobs and not even realizing it, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, with everything the way it's going, with prices rising and shelves being bare, and the price of gas, we can't continue to stay on that path for very long, even though, because gas has just recently been going up, and now we're just in the beginning stages of it. But I don't think people realize that this is going to go on for a very long time, and I don't think we can actually sustain that type of behavior from our government as well, because they're not doing anything about it, and they're not going to do anything about it, because they're all hand in hand with these people who are actually running the country, which is not our government. And because like I said, they're pretty much all puppets. But their excuse for it is, well, we want to go green, and we want to make sure that everybody starts using electric cars and stuff like that. And yeah, I can understand that too. But what
Well,
doesn't make sense?
it's not as simple as that, though, because you have to remember something. I understand that it would be a nice idea that go to electric cars, but a lot of people, and this is again when people are not thinking, they think, well, okay, let me go and get an electric car, and I'll jump on board. But it
Yeah,
not let's just hold that horsey. First of all, the ones that we currently have are not strong enough. The batteries that they come with are not strong enough that you can actually, unless you're trying to run around town, they might be fine. But other than that, they don't have enough staying power, enough power in them, and
right,
cannot maintain that power to actually get you from point A to point B should you decide to take a longer trip.
right,
Number one. Number two, just because you brought home that electric car doesn't mean that you're home free, because how are you going to charge it at home? Now you have
right,
to put in a power station in your
right,
garage that you can use, which first of all, most electric cars are in the 50, 60 if not, and up, 50 or 60,000 and up price category that the average person, quite frankly, can't even afford.
yeah, can't afford it.
Then, like I said, it's another 15 grand to put in the charging station in your
Right,
garage. And then once you start using it, we don't, you go to a hotel, for example, what's the guarantee that you're going to find a charging station there? Because
yeah,
even if they do have it, they may have a few, but if
not
everybody is
enough.
going to go to electric cars, are you going to be standing in line for 3 or 4 hours before you can get charged? And then you're going to be standing there or sitting there for another 3, 4 hours until it does charge.
Right, yeah, there's not enough charging stations. I mean, I took a trip a few years ago with some friends riding on our motorcycles, and we were on the New Jersey Turnpike, and there are certain sections there that had these charging stations. And then before we left Delaware, there was a couple of places that had the charging stations, but they were completely full and people were just waiting around. People were getting angry because they're waiting around for so long. But that's the thing, the charging stations are too far and in between. You're not going to find them, and they don't have enough of them out there. They sure are putting solar panels everywhere. That's for sure. We've seen solar panels, farms of them coming across America when we drove out here. But charging stations, you just don't see them. And they want us to go green, and but this is another way, again, with that control and power, that they want us to go green, and they want us to stop using gasoline and start using electric cars. But the expense of the electric car, the expense of putting up a charging station at their house, and the expense of trying to find a charging station when there aren't any, this is another way to keep us separated from each other, from those who have electric cars and those who don't, and keeping up that fear and anger amongst us all.
Well, and here's another question for you.
Yeah.
Do you realize that back in 1974, we already had the ability to have vehicles run on water?
Yes. Yeah. I remember that as a kid. I even remember as a kid, they had pictures in books of eventual running engines that would only have 3 running parts to it. That was it. But when those ideas come out, they were just going to have them. They were going to move forward with them, but the car industry basically squashed that idea because it wouldn't. Because if you only had 3 running parts, they can't make money on 3 running parts. They need all the other parts, so they continue to make money from us giving them money for all these parts. So they said no, and they did away with all that stuff. Yeah, we had the ability to do a lot of things, but those ideas get squashed by the big industry out there, by electric companies, by the motor vehicle industries, and we don't even realize it. And then they hide it from us, and then here they are trying to push it back on us again. But now with them cutting off the pipelines, and because we have enough gas to actually last us in reserve for 50, 75 years. But now they're just trying to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to do that at all. We want everyone to go electric. And the way that we'll force you to do that is by raising the price of gas. And people are furious. So do you think with the powers that be that are in control now, not our government, but the big corporations, big farm corporations and all that, do you think people will be smart enough to actually stand up and rise against this? Because there are more of us than there are of them. We just have to realize it. Just like we could stand up right now if we really wanted to and go into government and tell everybody you're fired, because we relinquished power to them so long ago. We can't.
It's true. There is more of us than of them, but they have the microphone.
Oh yeah.
They control the media, and whatever information that's coming out of mainstream media is not even the questions they are asking are true. But will there be enough, or can we actually stand up? Will there be people smart enough to realize this and stand up? I am hoping, but I am at the same time, I'm sometimes wondering whether or not that's going to happen. For the simple reason is that a lot of people, the way our societies have been working for a very long time now, they have, and again, it shows the success of the overall deep state plan. They only want 2 classes of people, the elite, the 1% of the 1%, and a basically enslaved population that's going to get everything else done for them. But one of the things that I've basically, like I said, is happening is that a lot of people, and most people, have been trained through the educational system, through the dumbing down of the population, have been trained to be followers and not leaders.
Right.
And a lot, and those people in those people that where the this follower mentality took, they will not have the individuality and individualism in them to stand up and dare to be different.
Right.
And that's what worries me.
Yeah, that's what worries me as well. I mean, I tell people all the time when I'm on doing my podcast, or when I'm doing individual readings for people, that the only way we get out of this is if we stand up and take a stand. Because even what people don't understand, oh yeah, the forefathers of America, the forefathers of America were all slave owners. These were people who were already in control of their people, and now they became in control of everyone. Our forefathers are pieces of shit, and this country was brought up and brought together based on a platform of power and control, and we just didn't realize it because we other people didn't know how to take care of this. But so we thought that people who did have some power and control in their lives already would know how to do this. We relinquished the power over to them a long time ago. And
Yep. The real problem is that, and this started, I would say, probably after World War I, is that by keeping people busy,
yes,
and because prior to that, and even, well, World War II, I would say, is when it really became an issue.
yeah,
Prior to that, one person working in a family was sufficient, while
right,
the other person in the family, usually the mother, I guess, just had the ability to tend to the children and to the family, and the family unit was intact.
yes,
Then
no
all of a
longer
sudden,
intact.
the basic unit of the family, and then the family, by that I mean it consists of a man, a woman, and their children.
Yes,
The family unit has been under attack for so many decades, it's not even funny. They destroyed the concept of a family, because one of the reasons why in certain ethnic groups there is a much higher level of violence
yes,
by them and towards them, is because the traditional family unit has been completely destroyed, and most of those kids and youngsters are born into or end up in a broken family and are being raised by single mothers. Some of them try to work, others not even try to work anymore,
yeah,
and that just shows in the quality of the society that we are living in today.
yeah. I worked in the prison system for 6 years. I worked in medical records, and not only just the medical, but this is also considered the medical records, the psychological part of it as well. And because I had access to those records, I'm always putting forms in and checking things, and since I was able to do that, I noticed I'd say 99% of the time, the people who are in prison, we look at inmates as being a crime that they committed, and that's why they are in there. But when I look at the records and see what's the psychological part, it's not just them, it's their family. They come from screwed up families,
Mhm.
and that we allow to happen in this society because we don't want to take care of each other in a real sense. And we let this happen, and it's their whole family that's screwed up. These children who are committing these crimes, or out there doing these drugs, or out there doing these things that end them up in prison, it doesn't just come from them, it comes from their whole family, because they've never learned right from wrong. They don't know right from wrong because they've never been taught right from wrong, and they've only been to set out on their own to let them figure it out for themselves. But most of them are not educated enough. They don't spend any time in school because they don't want to be in school. They leave school and they go out and do what they want to do, when they want to do it,
Well,
and how they
I
want to.
take that one step further, because it's no longer just, and I think that this is really going back to the point that I just tried to make. The traditional family has been destroyed, the original, because in many cases those children were also getting homeschooled, where
Yeah,
they were actually taught values, valuable skills, that life skills that they need. And
Yeah.
that is the other thing that has been completely removed from the current
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
educational system,
Yeah.
because they are, critical race theory has taken over.
Yes.
They have to make sure that they have safe spaces where children, when you hurt their feelings, they can run to cry.
Yes.
And they have removed all the Common Core math, which is the biggest BS I've ever seen in my life, and that lacks absolutely and completely any and all logic that anyone can ever think of. With all those BS topics, they are basically killing every possible logic and critical thinking skill out of the children, and all the critical life skills that people really should be taught in schools have not been.
Yeah.
Geography, history, although at this point, history, whatever history kids have been taught, is basically wrong, because everything we've been taught is wrong.
Yeah.
But at least some level of education or some resemblance of it would have been shared with the children. But life skills such as home economics, so that they can learn to take care of themselves, grow things in their garden, how
Yeah.
to cook, how to balance a checkbook, how to do financing and budgeting. They don't know that because it is no longer taught. And if they are not shown all those skills at home, they're going to be as dumb as a doorknob when they finally get that piece of paper that tells them they're a graduate, if they even graduate. um, and they will not be able to actually survive and stand on their own 2 feet, because they don't have the necessary life skills to get started with.
Yeah, they want to teach you. They'll tell you in high school, you got to go when you get out of here. You got to go get a job, and maybe they'll give you some skills on some types of jobs, like learning plumbing or learning auto mechanics. But the basic part of it is they don't teach us how to go out and get a job. They don't teach you how to actually fill out a job application. They don't teach you all that stuff that you also need. They just expect that you'll know how to do it, and that's just not the case. And now they don't even do that. When I left in Delaware, they were replacing all of the academics courses with sports instead, because it's more important that your kids play sports than it is to actually learn something. And I didn't agree with that as well. They're taking books out of schools that they don't want you to know now. They're taking parts out of history. You're going to certain towns that have statues up there. They're taking statues down. They're trying to get rid of all of the history and trying to change it. And
Yep, cancel
because
culture.
yeah, because everybody's offended by everything. Because I always tell everybody, for me personally, I never apologize to anyone for me being me. If you can stand being around me, that's great. But if you can't, because of something I said offends you, then that only means I have to be around you one time, because I know you're going to go away. But yeah, everybody in this world is now back in the day that the word was politically correct, and now that's been replaced with I'm offended by everything that you say. And well, you know what? Sometimes shit
Well,
happens.
and also, unfortunately, truth has nothing to do, and I don't care
Oh
what
yeah,
truth
I
hurts
know.
your feeling. Truth has nothing to do with what people, what people, just because the truth will not go away. Okay, a
Right,
lie, just because it's repeated often enough, doesn't make it the truth. It
right.
may become accepted, but it does not make it the truth.
Yeah,
So it's unfortunate, but the cancel culture that started, that's rather appalling. But um, yeah, again, that's, I think, is part of the system of driving wedge between people based on religion, color, skin color, um, or any other potential division that they can anything to drive a wedge between folks
oh
based on
absolutely.
whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. I saw somebody post on Facebook that she just moved into town here where I live in Arizona, and she was wanting to know if there was a school system around here that doesn't teach all this Black history stuff or all this religious stuff. And I told her, I said, you know, until we actually change the world, you better get used to it. You're going to find it no matter where you go, no matter what you do. They're still trying to separate us.
I would have answered her differently. I would have told her, if you want a school system that doesn't teach all that stuff, but does teach all the life skills that you
Right,
need,
that actually teaches.
keep your kids out of the school system and
Yes.
homeschool them.
Oh, yeah,
Or
absolutely.
find somebody, if you cannot do it, find someone who can help you out and do it for you, because that's the only way one can is able to affect change.
Yeah,
You do not
yeah.
conform. You basically say, okay, well, had I known what I know now, when my kids were still in elementary school, I would have pulled them out of school in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I told this lady. I said, you're not going to find what you want in a school. If you want that, you're going to have to teach them at home, because everything you want in school, what used to be, is no longer. And the only way that that's going to change is if the whole world changes, and the whole world doesn't seem to want to change in any type of way that's actually going to help your children. They want to just do their best they can to divide your children.
Well, I'd like to think that not all hope is lost, and that
Oh, I would hope.
things will change. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
As it usually tends to be, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yes,
So
we
I
have to go
think
through some shit before we come out
we
and
have
grow
to still
different.
go through some hard
Yes.
times, harder than we've been so far.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Before it's going to start to get better, and that's one of the things that a lot of people are not prepared for.
Right.
Now, I'm a first generation American. I came here as an immigrant myself. And my family, I was born and raised in Budapest, Hungary, and I actually do have family living in the Ukraine still. And they are basically all telling me that whatever we are seeing is
Bullshit.
film set.
Yeah, yeah,
It's basically a film set, just like Biden's
yeah.
appearances, because he's not in the White House. The White House is closed. But anyway, people are telling me that basically, as far as they are concerned, they don't feel like they are under attack in any way,
No,
because they are just go about their normal business as usual.
it's business as usual. This is a portrayal that's being put on for us so they can justify everything that's going on over here in America.
Well, just like Julian Assange pointed it out, people by nature do not like wars, and they have to be fooled into thinking that
Right.
it's necessary. So
Yes.
all wars that have ever occurred have been started based on media lies.
Yes.
And even some of those pictures and some of those clips that they show from the Ukraine, I've actually found at least 2 or 3 of them where it's very clearly either the picture is coming from like back in 2015 of Beirut, the same picture. They put the 2 pictures next to each other. It was the exact same identical picture. Now is being passed on as pictures from Ukraine, as
Right.
well as, believe it or not, downright excerpts from movies.
Yeah.
They're trying to pass it on as real, actual news.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going on over there with Russia and Ukraine has been going on for years. But in order to justify things going on over here, they're trying to throw that in our faces so they can justify, we got to raise the gas prices, we got to do this, we got to do that, because pay attention to what Putin's doing, and if he's going to threaten us, now we have to change some things over here. These are just changes that they want to make, but they have to have a reason why. So this is their way of doing it, by putting on this acting show.
Exactly. But unfortunately, and this is, I keep on harping on the education or the lack of education system here in the United States.
We don't know
especially, well, especially here in the United States. But the reason I keep on harping on it is because it is critical, and it is extremely important.
Yeah.
And that's one of the side effects, or one of the best ways of showing just how bad things have become, is that people are no longer able to tell apart reality from the lies.
Yeah.
And that's a direct result of the education system and the fact that, like I said, the common sense and logic is being systematically killed out of people. They can no longer see they can no longer see um, literally the forest from the tree.
Right. Yeah. They can't see the light at the end of the tunnel anymore. But this has all been structured to be this way, and because they've been brainwashed, because they've basically had a bucket of some type of sanitary fluid thrown over them. They can no longer see the truth because they don't even know what the truth is anymore, because it's been planned this way so that they wouldn't know what the truth is anymore. Yeah, we've the whole country has been, hopefully not all of us, but most of it has been sanitized. And so and they pulled the wool over our eyes so that we only believe what they tell us, what they feed us. And that's the hard truth of it. But I would hope somewhere in the middle of that, that there are some people like ourselves who are going, no, this is not the truth. This is a bunch of bullshit. And hopefully they would say, okay, I'm not going to let this happen to me, even though that they're still affected by it because the rest of the world is all caught up in this bullshit. But hope I myself think at some point there will be enough people who will be behind the scenes who will go, okay, they're putting out this problem. We're going to behind the scenes change that problem behind them as well too, because there are some other cyber hacks out there as well. They want us to believe that they are hacks, but what they're actually trying to do is trying to keep things from getting worse. But do you believe that, I mean, even though we hit on it a little bit, do you believe that we can actually change this situation that we're in now for the better?
I believe that we can, but it's going to require a lot of doing, and it's going
Yeah.
to require. A lot of people have often
Sacrifice.
asked me, what can we do to make this happen? And I can't say anything else other than, because one of the biggest mistakes that we've made collectively, unfortunately, was that by people getting busier and busier, and life and the economy and everything changing to the point where one person or one partner's salary wasn't enough to sustain a whole family. Both partners, both the husband and the wife, had to go out and work.
Yeah.
Because of that, we are busier now than we've ever been, and as such, we have been trusting in good faith to our supposedly elected officials to take care of business. And unfortunately, the problem is that you can't, because they have proven it that they are not going to do what is to the benefit of everyone. They're
Right.
their primary concern is always going to be themselves and their own greed. So, to basically, everybody needs to get started locally, get started anywhere, get involved with the school district, get involved in local politics, because I realize that, just like I think it's an absolutely revolting idea to think and talk about politics in general, but you have to get involved, because that's the only way you can get rid of the people that you want to get out of their current powerful position.
Right.
That's the only way you're going to be able to affect change. And yes, it's not going to happen overnight, but it can happen. But it does require for people to stand up and start doing things instead of waiting for a handout or for somebody to do it for them. Because if
Right.
that's what they're waiting for, it's never going to happen.
No,
And
it's never
that's
gonna happen.
and that's the worrisome part. How many people? I think that there are more of us than there are of them.
Yeah.
But will there be enough people who see through this and
Right.
who are willing to step up and say, I am going to stand up and take a stance, and I'm going to go against it, against the grain,
Yeah.
and show my individuality and my leader as opposed to follower mentality? How many people will be out there able and willing to do that?
Right.
That's what's going to make or break the situation.
but the unfortunate part with that is you have to be very strategic in what you do as well. Like we were talking, how you tried to put some information out there, but then the people who or the people and the places where we try to put this information out get stifled and we get censored, and then we you get put in Facebook jail for saying anything about the president or those types of things. So you have to be combat. For me myself, I've been out in the open here for the past 5 years, and I'm just going to continue to be out in the open. But to each his own. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to look after ourselves and look after our families and make sure that nothing is going to happen. So so for that, there's no I don't judge anybody, and I don't put any strikes on anybody for that, for wanting to take care of themselves without having to be being ridiculed by everybody because we did put our faces up on the internet. But yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from, because you have to take care of yourself. So no strikes with that. I totally agree with you. I want you to be as safe and feel as safe as you can throughout this as well, without having some harm come to you just because they saw your picture online. And we will make sure of that as well. We're not gonna since we're not doing video. I will also the title of the show is just going to be a titled show as well, and I won't. We're going to make sure that we don't post your picture as well. They can look at my ugly face all they want to. It is what it is. Yeah, I mean it's a lot thinner now too. I lost 30 pounds from being sick, but I don't mind, because I'm always out in the open anyway. I'm not saying that something bad may or may not happen to me, but if it does, I'm not afraid of it. But it's not that I want it to happen, but I don't. But I have to be out in the open because somebody does. And if I'm one of those people that has to take the responsibility to do that and put myself out in the open, then I don't have a problem with it. But for other people, if they don't feel comfortable doing that, then that's just that is their decision. That is your decision, and I respect that decision. So with that, we're gonna say an end to the show, and but I was glad to have you on, and maybe possibly later on down the line, if you would like to, if when things start to change a little more, maybe we can have you back on again, and we can talk about those current events, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely. Also, cool. Because I know you're going to keep sending me stuff in my email anyway. So, and I'm still going to be reading it. So that's okay. But as for now, we will end the show right here, and I will talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks you for being on the show. For
take
being
care.
on. Yeah, you too. And be good, and don't do any stupid shit. Okay.
I promise I won't.
You sure? I don't know about that, but all right. I'll talk to you soon. Be good.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks for watching Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson. We'll see you next time.